Phil Seymour, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm a big fan of yours and obviously of the way you work. And yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, actually.
Yeah.
I'm okay. Positive going into the new year. I had some good news this morning. I've been booked for the German Masters at the
Oh,
end of the month.
brilliant.
So happy days. Yeah, busy time. Fingers crossed the snooker stays on and keeps going. But yeah, at the moment, it's looking positive. And let's face it, we all need a bit of that, don't we, right now? So
Certainly do. I mean, I spoke to you before Christmas. Everyone was still kind of up in the air as to how Christmas was going to be, with not knowing really in effect. So, but did you have a nice Christmas at all?
yeah, I loved Christmas. It was
Yeah,
obviously quiet, I think, because everyone's Christmas was. That's the standard thing, isn't it? How was Christmas? Quiet. How was yours?
yeah,
Quiet.
exactly the
And
same. Yeah,
it is, but we made the most of it. You know, I've got little ones. I've got Lottie's just about to turn 2 next month. So
yeah.
for her, it's magical. It's all Christmas trees and lights and everything else. So, and then my boys are a bit older. So it's family time and it's all good really. So it's just tricky at the moment, but you know, you make the most of it, don't you?
And as we mentioned, you live in York, which is for me is one of my favourite places to go around Christmas time, which I'm sure it is for a lot of people in the UK. Was it much kind of on? I know there was a lot of things that was stopped, but did you manage to get out at all? And was there many decorations up?
Yeah, we went out. There's a few trees in the centre. You know, I live about 2 miles from the town centre, so
Right.
we're not far at all. The lights were up. There was no markets, none of the usual Christmassy stuff. It was very, very flat.
Yeah,
You know, it's how it's got to be at the moment, sadly. And
it is.
you know, if everyone just behaves themselves and sticks with it, we'll get through it quicker. So hopefully they get the vaccines out there and we can have a proper Christmas next year.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's going to be hopefully over the next few months, and then, like you say, if they get out quickly, and then by next year everything kind of go back to some kind of normality. Anyway.
Absolutely. Well, fingers crossed. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I really like your style, Phil. I always have. I've put it on social media a few times. You seem to, apart from being an extremely good master of ceremonies, you've got this way with the people. I know I've mentioned it before. You seem to be able to build a rapport now. It's not easy to build a rapport and be a master of ceremony, so it's got to be, that's having another feather in your bow. But it's the way you, before the interviews and after, when you interview the players, you always seem to ask the right questions, and the players seem to really enjoy getting interviewed with you. And I can see sometimes there's a little bit of like a little bit of fun backwards and forwards between yourself. So it comes across, and the interviews that you do as well, bringing people into the studio with the video cameras, and you can see behind the scenes. It shows a different side. A lot of people don't really get to see that a lot. So yeah, so obviously hats off to you in the way that you brought snooker to us, especially in this extremely tough time that we've had over these last few months. A lot of people are inside a lot more, kind of craving for snooker and pool. So
Yeah.
you've kind of give them that avenue to be able to get behind the scenes and speak to them. So, I've got to thank you so much for that, and I'm sure a lot of people do.
No. Thanks for the kind words. It's really funny. I consider myself really, really fortunate to get to do what I do.
Yeah.
You know, realistically, I'm talking to people. You know, getting to interact with the people that other people only get to see on TV, or they only get to see them from the stands, or whatever. So I always feel very fortunate. You know, these are very, very talented people, very hardworking, talented people, and I'm just some bloke who has a laugh and talks to people, really. So I feel very fortunate to get to see what I do, and I think because of that, you know, I try and have a laugh with them. I try and
Yeah.
get them relaxed. I think when you look at some sports people, you've got Premier League footballers, they've all been media trained since they were 9.
Yes.
So when they get interviewed, it's always very on point. They say exactly the right things at the right time and everything else. Snooker players, they've never had that. You know, they don't get media trained. Judd Trump is a great example. Judd's a really, really funny guy. Yeah, we can have a really good laugh with Judd. But
Yeah.
once he gets interviewed, he seems to go into his shell a bit, and he seems to be a little bit shy. And some people take that as arrogance. You know, I've seen him accused of being arrogant. Judd is anything but arrogant. He's one of the nicest blokes you could wish to meet. And, you know, I think when I interview him, he seems to relax a little bit. I think because I've got to know him a little bit, because I've interviewed him so many times. And I think because of that, I sort of get a little bit more out of him.
Yes.
And you know, that's great. If that happens, you know, fantastic. But realistically, I'm just there to chat to them, you know. And I think being on the tour a bit more, I've got to know a lot of the players a little bit better. And as you get to know them, they get to know you, and you can chat sort of more freely and they are more relaxed, which is it makes for a better interview, I think, anyway.
But as mentioned, though, like people like Ronnie eating crisps in the middle of an interview, you're getting too comfortable with you. They're getting far too comfortable. They're going to be eating the Sunday dinners in front of you.
Comfortable. I had a funny moment with Ronnie at the Northern Ireland Open a couple of years ago. Because Ronnie runs and I run to try and keep my weight down. Yeah. And we'd been chatting on the Friday night, and he said, I said, I'm going to do parkrun with a friend who lives in Belfast the next day. And he said, I might come with you. He says, give us your number. He said, I'll text you in the morning. And he texted me in the morning and said, look, I can't come. I'm playing Mark Selby at lunchtime, so I need to sort of rest and focus. So I went off with my friend, did parkrun, got a shower, got my suit on, went to the venue. And I was announcing Ronnie out first, Selby out second. I think Selby was still world number 1 at the time. It was Judd won that event. I think that was what set him off on his big run. And I announced Ronnie out. And in my head, I'm going through Selby's introduction. And as I am, Ronnie walked around the back of me and he stopped. And he said, how did parkrun go, Phil? And I turned around and I went, yeah, it was great, thanks. And just as I'm doing that, the producer in my ear going, cue Phil. And I thought, great, Selby's introduction has just completely vanished out of my head because he's talking to me. But I got it back and it all worked. But yeah, you know, he's great. You know, people like Ronnie O'Sullivan, my opinion, he's the greatest player ever to have played the game.
Yes.
And to get to know someone like that, again, you know, like I said, I feel very fortunate, really. It's a great position to be in. And obviously now you've got other players who've come through, like Judd, Neil Robertson, Selby as well, of course. You know, so many great players coming through, which, you know, it's a brilliant time to be involved with snooker. It really is.
Were you a big snooker fan prior to doing that?
Yeah. I've always watched. I'm horrifically colourblind, really, really badly colourblind, so I can't play snooker as such. The red, the green, the brown, I can't tell any difference. So I've never really, when I was a kid, I played quite a lot with my dad, and he used to take 4 points off me every time I hit a green instead of a red. But watching the pros, I can watch them because the balls pretty much stay on the spots.
Yes.
So there's occasionally, if the brown wanders down, I have to ask someone to say, is that the brown or is that a red? And but yeah, I've always watched snooker, always been a fan. Right back to staying up in, I think it was '85 for the late night final with Dennis Taylor. You know, and right back to then, my dad's always played snooker, always watched snooker. So sort of growing up in that environment, you learned who the players were from a very early age and enjoyed it really. So yeah.
So obviously it's not only great as a job, but it's obviously meeting these people, these youngsters coming through. Not only that, meeting people like Dennis Taylor and all them now, who I'm sure you'll class as people that you've met 100 times, and a lot of people would, you know, it's an ideal situation to be in, especially if you're a snooker fan. You know, you're seeing all these legends of the game walking around, and you're getting to talk to them before the matches and after the matches and discussing the matches with them. Must be an extremely good, fortunate position to find yourself in, feel like you're in sometimes.
It's really weird, Kevin. I think it was the third tournament I did. I was walking down a corridor and Jimmy White was coming the other way. And I mean, I grew up watching Jimmy White, you know. I'd never say that to him, make him feel a bit old, but I did. And Jimmy's coming the other way. I said, morning, Jimmy. He says, morning, Phil. And I thought, Jimmy White knows who I am. This is weird. And, you know, sort of things like that. Now it's a very normal thing. And I chat to him all the time. But when I first started in snooker, it was just really, really weird. It's like, Jimmy White knows who I am. That's very strange. And my partner, Nick, she came to, I think it was at York. It was the UK Championships. At York, we went just to show her it. And she always liked Jimmy when she was younger watching snooker. And we saw him and I introduced him to her. And she was just like, oh my God, it's Jimmy White. And
Jimmy's like, hi, Phil. And you're like, it's just Jimmy. It's just Jimmy.
Exactly, yeah. And, you know, she had a picture with him and all that. And it was great. But, yeah, it's really weird. I'm a massive sports fan, you know, be it snooker, boxing, rugby, football. I watch junior rugby league in the local park if there's nothing else on.
Yeah.
I'm a massive sports fan. And to be involved in sport in general, let's say, is a real result. It's something I'm very fortunate to do. So it's just great.
So I'm getting back to the lockdown, unfortunately. How has it kind of affected your life, being somebody who is used to travelling all over the place, all over the country, and going to these big venues? How has it affected you in the world?
It's been really weird. The first lockdown was tough. I mean, that was really tough. You know, literally, my diary went from being full for last year to just being completely empty, nothing in there at all. So that was where the one upside of it was getting to spend a lot of time with my family, which was lovely. Because like I say, I am away a lot, so that that was nice. But obviously, there's no money coming in, so there's no great. But yeah, it's one of those things. Really, it's something that there's people worse off than me, and I know that, and I think you've got to respect that. I'm kind of fortunate. My work sort of started coming back at the end of lockdown. Things started to ease. My work started coming back, and for the 3 months before Christmas, I was absolutely stacked out with snooker, boxing, and other things as well. So, from that perspective, I've been very fortunate. There's some people who still haven't worked since the start of the first lockdown, and for those people, it's been horrific, absolutely horrific. Personally, I look at it now. It's great that snooker's back on, which is marvelous for everyone involved. The players, the staff, everybody really, because we're all working.
Yeah. I think Snooker have done an amazing job, unbelievable job to get to where they are.
Seriously, there was Rob Walker did a piece for ITV at the World Grand Prix about what World Snooker Tour have done and the efforts they go to. It really is phenomenal. And people might say, oh, yeah, but it's all in one place, it's all in Milton Keynes. But if you look, the sets are different for each thing.
Yeah.
There's some of those people, Leo Scullion, the referee, Leo left towards the start of December, I think halfway through the World Grand Prix. He'd been there for I think 7-8 weeks.
Yeah.
And you look at it and you think, I was there for 10 days, and that 10 days away from my family seemed like a long time.
Yeah.
Or 12 nights, I think I was away from my family. Seemed like a long time. Some of those guys have been there for weeks and weeks and months on end.
I spoke to Paul Collier, and Paul obviously was there as a tournament director of one of the ones at the back end of last year. And Paul said that it was a very tough position to be in, a very, very hard position, because there was one occasion where they had to put back the start times. And it was because of the testing, and there was nothing that they could do, but they just got slated on social media. And even Paul was saying, there's nothing that we could do about it. We're trying to keep everybody as safe as we possibly can. So you've got to kind of give and take just that little bit. We're trying to bring you snooker, but in the safest possible way. And I've had, people like Elliot Slezzer, who unfortunately, they were in a car with somebody, and Gary Wilson got, somebody got a positive result, and then them and Daniel Wells, they all had to leave, and yeah, I mean, they're trying to do the best that they can, but it's gonna, it's obviously gonna have a few setbacks because it's an unprecedented situation.
Listen, let me tell you something about social media, okay? I think it was my second or third tournament that I did. I announced Kyron Wilson out, and my introductions I'd go through with the media guys from World Snooker Tour before I go and do them, and I announced Kyron Wilson out as the Masters champion. And he was the German Masters champion, okay? And it's one of those things. It slipped through the net, and it's one of those. And I got back from the arena to the media room, and one of the World Snooker guys says, "Phil, come and look at this." And someone had tweeted, "I don't know where you've got this MC from, but he's just announced Kyron Wilson out as the Masters champion. Even my wife knows he's the German Masters champion." And then he finished it off with, "This has completely spoiled my afternoon's viewing of the snooker."
It's ruined his night.
That's all you need to know about social media, okay? Because realistically, World Snooker Tour, to get the snooker on, have gone to extreme lengths. I mean, really, really extraordinary lengths. Now, had they let play go on that day before they got all the results back, which were delayed, and one of the players tests positive,
yes,
they get lynched, and snooker probably gets stopped.
Exactly.
So to hold it back and to do it, the fact that there's been some positive tests as well, and those players have been taken out of the venue, actually for me proves that what they're doing is working and is right.
Yeah.
We had one of the commentators, Dave Hendon, tested positive at one of the events and went straight home. There was another player, Dec Lavery from Northern Ireland, I think.
Yes.
Dec had come over, and they had to keep him quarantined in the hotel for 2 weeks after a positive test. But he was looked after, and there was meals taken to his room and everything else. And when you look at that, they are doing everything absolutely to, by the book and as it should be done.
Yes.
And ensuring that players can keep earning, that staff can keep earning, that fans at home have got some snooker to watch. Everyone is effectively locked up now for the next month or so.
Yeah.
In that month or so, we've got Championship League at the moment. We've got the Masters, German Masters, Shootout, Welsh Open, Players Championship end of February. There's so much snooker to come. And let's face it, we all need something to watch, don't we?
I know, certainly. So Phil Seymour, MC, Master of Ceremonies, not only in snooker, and you've done radio, fishing, pool, darts, wrestling, boxing. It's a very, very impressive list of achievements, Phil. But where did it kind of all start for you? What got you on the road to doing this?
That's a weird one. I'm a rugby man, or a rugby league man. I used to play rugby, and then I coached rugby when I was a bit older. I was involved with York City Knights, who are my local rugby league club. And I was the commercial manager there for a time. I used to fundraise when the club first set up. But on a first team match day, I would do anything we needed. I coached the scholarship, the young players. Right. But I would do anything. So I'd do a turnstile one week, car park the next week. I was the mascot in the big suit once. Norris the Knights, that was interesting. And then one week, the stadium announcer couldn't do it. He couldn't make a game or two. So I said, well, I'll do it. If no one else will do it, I'll do it. And I got halfway through the first game. The chairman came bounding down the main stand. He said, right, this is what you do, Phil. This is your job now. You're really good.
Yeah, put the mascot thing down. This is your job.
Yeah, put the big hat down. And I did that for a few years. And then sort of kids and everything else. So I stopped doing it. And then one of our ex-players at York became director of Wakefield Trinity in Super League. He rang me up and said, look, our stadium now can't do a couple of games. Any chance you can fill in? And I said, well, I'm not, I'll do it for York. It's my club. And he said, oh, we'll pay you. I said, right, when do you need?
What day?
Yeah. And I did those 2 games. They then booked me for the following season. I've now been there, I think, 11, 12 years. I still do Wakefield now. Still in Super League, and it's great. Love it. I'm part of the furniture there, really. And then everything else sort of came from that. I've always been a massive, massive boxing fan.
Yes. I was disappointed with Luke the other day. I was so disappointed for him.
Yeah, well, I get to see Luke, and he's one of the nicest lads you could wish to meet. And do you know, he looked on top, and then the body shot it was a cruel body shot. It really was. But,
no.
But we had a game on Sky, and one of the Sky producers called me after the match, and he said, look, Phil, with your voice, you really should do the boxing. And I thought, well, boxing's something that I've always loved, and it sort of planted a seed. And I had my 35th birthday not long after, and I'd had 1 or 2 drinks, it's fair to say. And I declared that I was 35, and by the time I was 40, I was going to ring announce a boxing world title fight, which I was called mad for doing at the time. But I did it, 37 and a half. I did my first world title fight. So it was a case of getting a license and everything else. And then other things just sort of come from that, really. Obviously, Matchroom, Eddie Hearn and Barry Hearn involved in boxing. Obviously, they've got darts, pool, involved in snooker and everything else, and fishing. So other things just kind of come off that, really.
It was 2011 that you were granted your Master of Ceremonies with the Boxing Board of Control. Is that right?
Yeah.
Now, I've seen and I mean, that must have been an amazing thing to finally get that to go on. And then I remember the Chris Eubank, Arthur Abram. In fact, I know that wasn't your obviously your first title hosting the first title fight, but obviously Chris Eubank brings his own. They bring their own crowd. What's the difference between hosting like a boxing or I can picture it being a little bit more rowdy to snooker. But what's the?
Have you seen the shootouts?
Oh yes, well I've seen you trying to do I saw you doing the Mexican wave, which I thought was brilliant.
They're all the sports are different. They're all slightly different in the way that you speak to the crowd and the things that you have to do. I mean, you look at boxing. Boxing is a very, very dangerous sport.
Yes.
And I've been involved in a couple of shows where there's been horrible tragedies. And also crowd trouble and that kind of thing. And you've got to sort of learn to manage that, and it's not always easy. But everything you do, you work it out to the audience.
Yeah.
So, for example, I MC the shootout very, very differently to how I MC the World Grand Prix last month. And it's a case of changing what I do on the microphone to suit the event and suit the crowd at it. I did the wrestling on ITV again, different again, because that's entertainment. It's, as someone describes it, sports entertainment, as opposed to being pure sport. it's a much younger crowd. You know, in many ways, actually, a much more knowledgeable crowd. Because a lot of these people that go to wrestling are really, really serious wrestling fans, and what they don't know about wrestling isn't worth knowing about wrestling. So you've got to sort of get really clued up and understand that. The one thing that I love with snooker is the crowds are great. You know, we're really, everyone at the snooker, from the referees to the players to security, they are missing the crowds like mad. And I'm no different. If you speak to people that go to tournaments, I spend a lot of time out in the fan zone, out in the queue zone where the tables are.
Yeah.
I go out there, I'll have a little knock on the tables and just generally speaking to people. You know, and I try and make, if I can make someone's visit to the snooker special, I will do. Yeah. You know, if it chats the crowd, and, you know, if I can do that, I'll always do that. And the fans make sport. Whatever sport it is, the fans make the sport. The players come and go. Yeah, boxers come and go. It's the fans who make the sport, who make that atmosphere, who make it what it is. And no one in sport should ever lose sight of that. And for me, they should be treated specially because of that, because that's what they are.
100%. I totally agree with that. I've also spoke to a few players who have said that that the circumstances have helped other players. Where you may say you can play under pressure, but with the crowds there, they help you play a little bit better. Some people love that big crowd buzz, that they come out and all the crowd are pumping and they go, right, I want to play and I'm ready to go. And then and other people, maybe they're great in practice, unbelievable practice players, but then they come out, or maybe boxers that come out and freeze under the big lights. And at the moment, they're the people who would freeze with the big crowds are the people who are their game's excelling a little bit more because they haven't got that added pressure of the crowds on them. Whereas, I mean, the shootout, going back to the shootout there, that seems much more of a fun time. Like, I saw that Gary Wilson had his hair all done with the orange on, and it seems so much more of a laid back thing, whereas you got that, you're going to have to change your way of speaking to the crowd because you want to G the crowd up, you want to go out, talk to them before it starts and get them all kind of fired up, because it's the only time in a game of snooker where the crowd are going to be cheering on when the people are running around the table trying to pot the ball. So having to address them differently it would definitely have to work instead of it being a World Championship semi-final.
The shootout's an absolute killer. For me personally, it's an absolute killer. When you look normally, on a normal day at the snooker, I will introduce probably 4 matches tops. More often than not, only 2 matches. On the shootout, I think in a day, I have 48, 50 matches to introduce. And what you don't see watching on TV is in between each match, I go to an ad break and I go and talk to the crowd.
Yeah.
And G them up and get them to shout blue when the blue goes in and different things. And it's just by the end of that day, I am absolutely flogged. I literally go back to the hotel and crash because it's shattering. But it's also a really, really good laugh. I think it was the first or second year that I did the shootout. I was told when we go to an ad break, you can talk to the crowd. And I was having a real good crack with them and getting to shout things. There was a lady on the front row who was really heavily pregnant. So in between each match, I'd check that she was all right. There's no waters broke. And it was after about an hour and a half, when the Eurosport producers came down, he said, Phil, just to let you know, when we go to an ad break, Eurosport Online is still live. And I said, what? And he said, yeah. He said, so we're getting tweets from people saying, this is brilliant. The way he's ribbing the crowd in between frames. And I said, I've not said anything wrong, have I? He said, no. He said, but that's why I'm coming down, just to warn you, don't overstep that mark because it is going out live. And I thought, oh, great.
The thing is, you might have been told. If you'd been told that previously to that, you might have not approached that situation the same way, where it came across extremely natural having a chat, which came across even better to the crowd, to the people watching.
You've got to be really careful. It's funny, at the Scottish Open. Yeah, it was the Scottish Open, wasn't it, where Ronnie was in the final. Was it the Scottish Open? I can't think. Well, one of the ones anyway, just before Christmas. And in between the afternoon and evening session of the final, I'd been out to my little girl, when I FaceTime her from the venue, she likes to see the table because that is snooker to her. We watch snooker at home and his daddy's at the snooker. So I'm by the table and I'm chatting to her on FaceTime and all this. And I said, I've just bumped into Mark Selby and his wife. And I said, Mark couldn't believe she's nearly 2. And I said, yeah, she's a walking, talking monster. And Martin, one of the tournament directors, he came out and says, Phil, can you ring Ronnie O'Sullivan? I was like, well, he's playing in the match. He says, yeah, he's texted me and asked if you can give him a ring. And I rang him, and he told me that one of his mates he's on the Eurosport player, and it's still live. And he said, you've just been by the table, FaceTiming your little girl. I said, yeah. And he says that you called Mark Selby's missus a walking, talking monster. I said, no. I said, I've seen Mark and his missus, and we're talking about a little girl, and she's a walking. He said, oh, right. He said, no worries. And he said, look, be aware, that's live. He said, so if you did say anything controversial, it's going out and people can see it. He said, wow. You don't want to risk your job with something like that. And I was like, no, definitely. So I need to be more aware of that, I think.
I think ever so slightly.
Yeah, the tables are streaming, so yeah, I need to be more careful. But it was nice that he was looking out for me, so fair play.
Yeah, Ronnie's just went, will you give Phil a call? Can someone give Phil a call? Let us I'll sort that out. At least he didn't say anything, like you said, at least he didn't say anything controversial.
Yeah, no, it was all right. I was safe. I was safe. I was good.
So, I mean, you've mentioned there that you're a huge boxing fan now. I remember watching the hosted evening that you did with Kell Brook. Now, because I'm a big Kell Brook fan. How was it like doing that kind of hosting thing? And is it something that you enjoy, being that kind of up close and personal, especially with boxers of kind of Kell's stature?
Yeah, it's great. I've done sort of, as I was progressing my career and going on, I've done quite a few like sportsman's dinners and evening with and that kind of thing, with a wide array of people, from Danny Dyer, the actor, to Mad Frankie Fraser, who was the enforcer of the Richardson gang when the Cranes were in London. So I've good experience of doing some of those, and they're each different. They all bring different challenges. Kell is a boxer who I've known Kell sort of personally for some time. Obviously, he's from Sheffield, I'm from York, and we often see each other at different shows and things like that. So I've known Kell for some time. That was a really good night, actually. Yeah. It was really good fun, because Kell is very much an open book. Mm. But it was good I had like an hour on a stage with him, interviewing him about pretty much anything I'd like to. And, he'd won the world title. He'd been stabbed over in Spain. So there was a lot to talk about at the time. And it was great, really. But yeah, it's good fun. I love stuff like that. Listen, I'm sat with top sports people chatting. It's like I said right at the start of the interview, I'm very fortunate to do what I do and stuff like that. I really enjoy it. I really do.
Speaking of going back to like rowdy crowds, I mean, I know that you did the World of Sport in 2016. Now that seemed like a lot of fun. Was it as much fun as it looked?
Yeah, it's weird. I'd never done wrestling.
Yeah.
It's something I've never ever done. And I got a phone call. I was working down in London. I got a phone call from ITV saying, look, we'd like to speak to you. We've been looking at some of your work online. We like what you do. We're looking to bring back World of Sport wrestling. And I almost dropped the phone, because I grew up as a kid. Saturday tea time, we'd have hot dogs with onions, and we'd sit and we'd watch Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks and all those guys. And that was my childhood, was watching that. And they said, we've looked at the wrestling MCs in the UK at the moment. A lot of them put on an American accent. They're jumping around a lot when they're doing it. We want a straight up and down British master of ceremonies, someone that can command a bit of respect. And I was like, right, okay. Well, I'd love to do it. And we did the pilot in Manchester. And then it took quite a while. It's like a year and a half, 2 years before we then shot the series. And then we did a tour after that. And it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. For someone that had never been involved in wrestling, the wrestlers, all the people backstage, the wrestling fans, sort of really took me to heart. And it was great. And I still get people asking me about it now. And it's a real pity it didn't sort of carry on more than one series. I think given time, it could have really taken off. But it was brilliant. It was such good fun. And the tour was amazing. To get out on the road and do that was fantastic. We did the Tower Ballroom in Blackpool.
Yeah.
Where they have the Strictly Special every year.
Yeah.
What a place. When I walked in and just sort of looked round, and it was, like you said, I've done Eubank Junior Abraham at Wembley. I've done stadium fights. I've done massive international rugby league games. But there I am in the Tower Ballroom, and it's all like gold. It's completely sold out.
Yeah.
And at the start of the show on the tour, they were playing sort of the episodes on these big screens from the series, and then it all goes dark. They play like the opening credits, and it all goes up on the screens. And then some guy introduces me, and I walk out, and it was just amazing to walk out of the Tower Ballroom, completely rammed, full of people. And there's all these kids. There's like a runway down to the ring. There's all these kids wanting to high five me, and I was just like, this is bizarre but brilliant. And we'd come out of the venue after the show, and there's people outside wanting autographs and all this, and it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic, and just something different. You know, it wasn't boxing or rugby and that kind of thing. It was just a little bit different, but a whole lot of fun. And yeah, like I say, it's just a real pity it didn't get to continue, because they were a great crew.
So apart from like all the things that you do, Phil, I mean, you've hosted darts live, to pool, you've done raffles, auctions, interviews, introductions. I mean, did you think that when you started that you would have kind of done so many different sports at so many different venues to such a high level? Never
in a million years. I started as a volunteer stadium announcer, helping out because someone had a problem with their back.
Yeah.
And that was how it started, and everything just kind of came from it, really. And you know, with each thing that I'm asked to do, it's just another honour, really. You know, and I did the odd day for the snooker. John McDonald, who does the darts, also used to do the snookers, I'm sure you know, Kevin. Yes. And I did like the odd day. So there was like the odd day that he couldn't do it, that he had to do something else, so I'd fill in. So I did a day at the shootout, I did a day at the World Grand Prix, I did a day here, a day there, and I must have done all right, because when they then decided that actually John is really busy on the darts, because I think he's pretty much full time on that now.
Yeah.
So they needed someone else. That they asked me to do it, and it was great, you know. And I took that opportunity to go full time at what I do, because I'd always done everything alongside a job prior to that, and you know, I'd work Monday to Friday and then cram things in on weekends. I'd take holiday days if I was asked to do the snooker on a Thursday, I'd take a holiday day and do that. So I took the snooker's opportunity really to go full time and try and make a go of it. And you know, it's been tough, especially in the last year.
Well, yeah.
But you know, hopefully things will get back to normal, and you know, we can get going properly again. But it's great, and never in a million years did I think I'd do what I do. You know, and when you start talking through it, there's things that I forget I've done.
Yeah.
You know, the pool, I've done the fishing for years. I didn't do this year's because of COVID, but I've done like the previous however many years of Fishermania on Sky. And that, believe it or not, that is Sky's longest running event.
Is this? Wow.
They've covered Fishermania, I think, for like 27, 28 years, which it's the longest running because they lost the Premier League for a year or two. So it's the longest running continuous event that Sky have had. And that's got a wrestling link as well, because Barry Hearn came up with the idea watching WrestleMania.
Of course he did.
the old WWF WrestleMania. And he thought, do you know what? Look at this. It's amazing. What an event. Fishermania.
Yep.
And he says, people looked at him at the time and went, you're mad. It'll never happen. And as he said, 28 years later, look at where it is now.
I know. Do you ever get nervous, Phil?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah, without nerves, you make more mistakes. The nerves are what keeps you tight, really.
Well, I've heard that from professional sportsmen as well. They've said that without the nerves, they'd give up. It's home time type of thing. If without that, and you feel the same as a host and MC.
Look, I don't have an auto cue, so there's no. A lot of people are surprised when they come to snooker and I'm not reading it off a screen behind the camera.
Yeah.
You know, there's no auto cue. So when you're looking at it, I've generally got one hand behind my back, and in that hand I've got a card with all my notes on. And if I ever completely blank, I can pull the card out and read it. Hopefully I'll never have to, but you know, it's there to do that. But the fact that you're going out live, and it's not just that, you know, there's snooker matches have been watched in China by over 100 million people.
Yes.
You know, and that's you know that there's people watching you all around the world, and if you mess up nowadays, it's everywhere in seconds.
So when Ronnie walks past and goes, "Did you enjoy your run?" Like
you kind of go this morning, though. Exactly, your head goes completely blank.
Yeah.
But yeah, the nerves are what keep you honest, really. I think when I'm interviewing the players, not so much, because I can enjoy that, really.
Yes.
And it's not going out live, and if something does go wrong, we can stop and start again. We don't, but you know, that is sort of there if it did, and it can be edited and everything else. But no, there's nothing like live TV to keep you honest, really.
Or when you're doing a live, you know, a world title fight and you're in the middle of a ring, you know, you can't say, can I just hold and we'll just go back and start it again? There's none of that.
No, it doesn't happen. It's really funny. You mentioned Eubank Jr. against Arthur Abraham, and that was Wembley Arena.
Yeah.
And I've never done Wembley before.
Wow.
So that for me was like properly nerve-wracking. I think there was 3 world title fights in one night as well. Which the fact that my goal for a couple of years was to do a world title fight, the enormity that really hit home. But if you ever want bringing back down to earth, we were staying in the Wembley Hilton just over the road from Wembley Arena.
Yeah.
And I did the show. The show went great. Couldn't have gone better. Everything went exactly as you would dream it goes. And I finished the show, got back to the hotel, went up to my room, chucked some jeans and a polo shirt on, and went down to the bar because everyone's in the bar. Went down to the bar, stood at the bar waiting to get a drink. And this guy came up to me and says, you been to boxing? I was like, yeah. He says, all right, what a great night. He says, whereabouts are you? I said, well, you know, ringside for most of it. He says, oh, check you out, la-di-da, sitting at ringside. And I said, well, I was the ring announcer. Were you really? I thought, yes.
Yes, I was.
Most tonight, but no idea who I was. And in a way, that's kind of good because if I nosed it right up, everyone would know who I am. The fact that you go on, it's kind of like a referee in many ways. They just want to go unnoticed. They just want to do what they do, and that's that. And brilliant. And you know, that's kind of what you strive for, really. So in a way, that it was. I went in there feeling 10 feet tall. I'd just done Wembley, blah blah blah. Felt amazing going there. Who? Oh, okay.
Like going back to there, I spotted Brendan Moore, and Brendan Moore has just basically said exactly what you said. He mentioned he knows he's done a good job when no one even remembers who refereed the game, because he knows that it went as smoothly as it could have gone with no interruptions from the referee, and it's just he went they're the best times to do it.
It's exactly the same. It's really funny. The second you go on television or the second you go on social media, you kind of put yourself up there to be shot at. And, you know, I get some people like the way that I introduce the players. Other people don't. And, you know, that's a matter of personal taste. You know, and there's boxing MCs, for example, who I really, really like their style, like the way they do things. There's others that I don't. But that's just a personal thing. Some people feel the need to go and vocalize that or verbalize that on social media.
Yes.
You know, that is their prerogative to do it. But I think if you do make an error, then that really does fly on social media. There was a couple of years ago, the Scottish Open, I announced Mark Allen as the Northern Ireland Open champion, which is an event that Mark Allen would dearly love to win, but of course never has done.
But hasn't, yeah.
And I don't know why I introduced him as that. Something went wrong in my head, and I introduced him as that. But of course, Mark, being Mark, he's a lovely guy, but he stood there in the tunnel on camera, and he turned to his right to someone he couldn't see and went, "No, I'm not." And I saw it back and I thought, yeah, cheers. Thanks, Mark Allen. Sold me right down the river there. But, you know, and that then went on social media. I mean, Eurosport even tweeted something and put, I don't think he has. And you think, yeah, thanks a lot, guys. So I'm right out to dry. But look, if you make the odd mistake, it's okay. If you do it regularly, not great. But no, it's social media, like I said before, it's a very, very funny thing for things like that. So.
Have you ever made a mistake that you regret? Is there any that stick in your mind that you go,
No, not really.
No.
I don't think you can. Touch wood, I've never made any big ones.
Yeah.
You know, I've never announced the wrong winner of a tournament. You know, I've never announced Ronnie O'Sullivan as Neil Robertson.
I suppose hence that's why you're everywhere at the moment. That's probably why, because that's why they're keeping you, because they know they can rely on you not to.
Listen, long may that remain the case. I'll tell you. It's you know, I'm sure it'll happen at some point. You know, you don't. Anyone in any walk of life, in any job, makes mistakes, and it's really, really funny. I think the fact that people on TV, be it a player, be it a referee, be it me, the fact that you're on TV, it magnifies it.
Yes.
But the people that jump on and criticize immediately, I always think to myself, are you completely faultless? You know, have you never done anything wrong in your job, in your life? You know, and you think, well, you have.
Yeah.
You know, and in everyone in their job has made mistakes, have made errors. The difference is when I do it, it's in front of the camera and on worldwide TV. So
it's amplified just a tiny little bit.
Just a tad. Yeah, and the same with referees as well. You know, if the referee makes a mistake, it's seen everywhere. And I think social media is, I love social media. You know, you've seen me on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram and all those. I love social media to an extent. Some of the bile, some of the real nitpicking that goes on is,
it's brutal.
It's wrong. I mean, it's completely wrong. And someone said to me a lot of years ago that the first rule with social media is, if you wouldn't say something to someone's face, don't put it on social media.
Yes.
Because you never know when you're going to meet that person and when you're going to interact with them.
Yes.
And you know, that for me is very, very true. You know, and I think it's sad in many ways, the way that some people use it, but you know, like I said, that's their prerogative, and doing what I do, you learn to have a bit of a thick skin at times as well. So one of those things.
If you could host anything, what would it be? What would be like your main, what's your wheel? What would you love to do if you could, if you're given the choice?
Cripes.
I know it's a big one, because considering the things that you have done are already huge.
Well, this is it. I don't know really. I don't think. I'd love to do more stuff abroad. I'd love to do a big fight in Vegas. That'll never happen because, goodness, you know, most of the boxing over here gets American ring announcers. So they certainly aren't going to take a Brit to Vegas to do one. I'd love to do that, but I look at it. My main sport is rugby league.
Yes.
I'd love to do a Challenge Cup final at Wembley. I really would love to do that. I've done Australia versus New Zealand before, which is the biggest game in international rugby. I'd love to do a Super League Grand Final. But the trouble is, those two games, my mate Pete does those. Yeah. And I've never, ever been someone that goes after someone else's work. I don't do that. I think that's completely wrong.
Yes.
If I get a job, I get it on merit. I get it on the fact that I've got a decent reputation, that people know me, that the people like to work with me or whatever.
Yes.
I'd never, ever go after someone else's gig. And, you know, for me, it's just wrong. I think, you know, you grow your career organically. And that's maybe stifled me in some ways, I think. But I think in other ways, it's helped me as well. And, you know, but yeah, definitely. Rugby League, Challenge Cup final, Super League Grand Final, World Cup final, I'd love to do, obviously. Boxing, I'd love to do Vegas. Snooker, listen, I get to do a lot of snooker. I'm very, very lucky in what I get to do. I've done the Crucible. Obviously, Rob does the BBC events, and he's brilliant at what he does. And he's also an absolute diamond of a bloke as well. So, you know, I can't knock that at all. But the Crucible, the first time I did that, filling in for Rob, I walked down the steps into the Crucible, into the venue, and the hairs on the back of my neck just sprung up. Because it's different to everywhere else, because it's theatre and the crowd are like that. They're literally right on top of you. And it's amazing. The feeling when you walk in there is something different to anything else.
I don't think many people get the to realise just when it goes down to that single table. People think that it's in like a huge arena, but they don't realise that it's actually quite closed in.
No. It's really small. And like I say, because it's so steeply banked, the crowds are right on top. A lot of the venues that we do now, like arena halls where they bring the seating in and it's quite very gradually steps and everything else. The Crucible is like that. So you've got people. I look up there. There's people. I look up there. There's people, and it's fantastic when you walk down into that. And like I said, the hairs on the back of your neck literally just spring up, and it's phenomenal. I did the Crucible. Lottie, my little girl, I think she was about 2 months old, so 2 years ago. And I did a day there. And I joke around to the crowd. And before we go live on TV, I say to them, look, when I say Sheffield, you've all got to go mad. And I said, because my little girl's 2 months old and she's watching Daddy on TV for the first ever time. And if you don't all cheer, she'll cry. And that will be your fault, ladies and gents.
So they'll love that. They'll love that.
You try and have a crack with them. But it was really funny. 2 weeks later, I'm walking through York, pushing Lottie in a pram, and there's this guy walk past, and he says, "Oh, it's you from Sheffield." I said, "No, I'm from York." He said, "No, from the snooker." I said, "Yeah, sorry, yeah, that's right." And he said, "So it wasn't a lie then? You have got a baby?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Oh, me and my mate thought you were just making it up just to get the crowd going." I said, "No, she's real. Yeah. I'm not pushing an empty pram round. I'm not weird."
Yeah.
This guy actually thought that was the case.
Oh, it's brilliant. So, Phil, what do you think that what you'd be doing if you weren't doing this now? If you weren't an MC, Master of Ceremonies, what do you think you'd be doing?
I've worked my whole life in the automotive sector. Yeah. So I started off 1 or 2 years ago now, selling cars a long time ago. Worked my way up through in dealerships, and then I worked for manufacturers. So I worked for the likes of Volkswagen Group, for Mercedes-Benz in like regional training and coaching roles. I still do automotive training alongside the sport.
Yeah.
So I currently work with Porsche, with Mercedes-Benz, Toyota, Lexus, people like that. And it was always the plan, really, when I stopped working full-time to do this full-time, was that I would mix up sports and automotive. So I'd probably just be doing that, to be honest. My last full-time job, I was a sales and marketing manager for a company in automotive. So I'd probably be doing that and in an office somewhere, having fun, as you do.
Probably furloughed, unfortunately.
Yeah, now, probably. At least I'll be getting paid, which should be a result. You take the rough with the smooth, don't you? But that's what I'll be doing. I'll be working in automotive, I should imagine, which, like I say, I've done most of my life.
And what do you do when you're away from work, Phil? What do you do to relax in the Seymour household?
Oh, we watch a lot of sport.
The sport mad.
I watch a load of sport. Obviously, like I say, I've got kids, so I spend a lot of time with my family doing that. Obviously, we go shopping. We like to go out for trips and days out, weekends away. Love to travel. Love to go away.
What's like your favourite holiday destination? Where do you love to go, if possible?
Oh, wow. I think we went to Mexico a couple of years ago. That was amazing. Mexico was fantastic. Abu Dhabi, I've been over there once. That was incredible. I'd love to go over there a bit more. That was phenomenal. Went to Yas Island, where the Formula One track is.
Yeah.
We stayed in the hotel that sits above on the Formula One track, which is incredible. But no, Mexico was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So I'd love to head back there sometime.
Are you kind of like a chill on the beach type of person, or are you like an explorer? Do you like to kind of head out and look?
I'm going to sit on the fence. I like a bit of both. We like a city break, so we like to go. We've done, myself and Nick, my partner. We've been to Paris, Dublin, Belfast, Amsterdam, Barcelona. We've done quite a lot of city breaks, and on those we'll get there. We will literally explore for 2 or 3 days and then come home. But then other holidays, you like to go and just chill by a pool or by a beach and just relax. And it just depends what you're going for, really. And it's just nice to get away.
It is. So you recently, Phil, posted on Twitter something titled "Snooker's Biggest Loser." Now, which I think is absolutely amazing. Would you be able to kind of inform everyone what it is and how it kind of came about between you and Shaun?
Yeah, this was funny. I've always struggled with weight. So I was 25. 6 years ago, I was 25 stone. Wow. Lost 10 stone in a year, and ever since then, I've been putting it back on gradually. So New Year's Day, I thought, right, this is it. I need to get some timber up. So I weighed myself, and I thought I'll put a bit of pressure on myself. So I went on social media and put, right, this is it now. Line drawn, weighed myself. Time to get some weight off. Plans in place. And it was like New Year's Day, 8:45 in the morning, and Shaun Murphy rings me up. And I'm like, what? And he says, Phil, I've just seen you post on social media. I just weighed myself as well, and I'm exactly the same. So let's do it together. I said, what are you thinking? He said, right, let's have a competition, me v you, so you can get the most weight off by the start of the Worlds. And I was like, right, okay. And we chatted for about an hour and tossed a few ideas around everything else. And Snooker's biggest loser was born. So it's a straight fight between myself and Shaun. We both weighed in New Year's Day. It's all online. If you search Facebook for Snooker's Biggest Loser,
I'll
the
leave all
page
the
there.
links.
On GoFundMe, I think we're just with £1,600 raised now for two brilliant charities. You know, when Shaun came up with this idea and he said, look, you know, we could raise some money for charity doing this. And I said, do you really think people sponsor? He said, look, they will. Trust me, they will. So we picked the charities and we chose Jessie May, which is World Snooker Tour's chosen charity. Amazing people. They give respite at home care for terminally ill children and their families. When the child passes, they don't stop there. They continue to support the family for the years afterwards as well. You know, they really are amazing the work they do. And then also a charity that I've supported for many years here in York, where I live, called Kitchen for Everyone, which provides hot meals for the homeless in York. And through the pandemic, they've also been providing a lot of food to the food banks because a lot of families have been struggling. I've supported them and volunteered down there as well, helping to feed people for quite a number of years now. So we're splitting it between those two charities. Hopefully we can make a real difference to them. But yeah, with fortnightly weigh-ins, in fact, I've been booked this morning through the German Masters at the end of the month, which will be our second fortnightly weigh-in. So we're going to do that together, all being well, in Milton Keynes.
That's brilliant.
And I'll be winning by then. I'm going to be beating the magician. Just trust me. I'm going to beat Shaun. I am absolutely nailed on for this. I've been working hard, training hard. Shaun's going to be down in Milton Keynes. He's going to be eating them takeaways during the Masters and just getting that bulk on. You keep going, Shaun. You keep eating. It's all good. But yeah, GoFundMe. Just search Snooker's Biggest Loser. Please, if you can. Obviously, it's difficult times for everyone, but if people can donate, brilliant. But other than that, just get on Facebook and give us some support because we're going to need it. It's 15 weeks of being good, and a lot of that time will be spent in Milton Keynes with no way of eating healthily. Particularly, there's no gym open, there's nothing. So it's going to be tough, but we're going to do this, and I will beat him. Trust me.
One of the things that I've really enjoyed as well is the kind of the banter, the back and forth between you and Shaun. You're obviously very friendly, and but the videos I saw Shaun in his house, and you were kind of saying you need to sort yourself out, and they were talking about rabbit food, and I thought this is brilliant. If this is going till April, this is gonna be great.
You know, Shaun's great. He's one of the players who, on the tour, if he's not playing, he'll come down into the media room and he'll sit and he'll chat with us and eat biscuits, and I need to keep encouraging him to do just that. But you know, he'll sit and he'll chat, and you get to know players. Mark Selby's very, very similar. You know, he spends quite a lot of time in the press room, the media room. In fact, there was a story. Hector Nuns, fantastic snooker journalist or sports journalist. He tweeted, I think it was at the UK's, when Mark he'd just finished an hour and 10-minute frame into a mid-session interval, and he went into the press room, boiled the kettle, made himself a brew, sat down, and he turned around to everyone and said, "Enjoy that one then, lads." We just watched an hour and 10 minutes of that, Mark. Thanks. Yeah. But, you know, a lot of these players, like the likes of Mark, the likes of Shaun, you know, they do they spend time with people on the tour, and you do get to know them a little bit better, and you know, it's great. You know, the players, they're just normal people at the end of the day, and you know, you get to know them quite well. Shaun's one of the nicest people you could wish to meet. But that being said, I am going to beat him. So.
I'll say the picture that you shared kind of 5 years ago where you lost 10 stone in a year, it's quite astounding. Are you kind of following the same regime this time round, or are you going to mix it up a bit?
Yeah, sort of. Sort of vaguely sticking to that. But yeah, just generally just being good, really, just eating the right thing. When you've done that, you kind of adopt some of those habits. Mm-hmm. And it's a case for me of getting back to those habits and not snacking and not drinking and staying off the wine and that kind of thing. So, it's kind of going back to that, stepping the exercise up as well. I've got Taylor, Kyron Wilson's brother, who's a personal trainer. Taylor sent me a message on Instagram and said, "Look, if you need any help, Phil, you know, I am Team Phil. I will help you out." So Taylor's put me together a fitness plan, which is great. Sadly, he put me that together, and then the next day the gym shut, which was dead handy.
Yeah.
Thanks. Cheers, Boris. But so I've got Taylor helping on the fitness side. I up the running a bit. And yeah, it's just the all-round thing. Like, I need to get some timber off. I need to lose a bit of weight. That's how this has all come about. Me and Shaun need to lose weight. If we can do that, give people a bit of a laugh, and hopefully raise a decent amount for charity in doing so, happy days. We can use the fact that Shaun is a well-known and very talented snooker player to raise money for charity. So brilliant.
I'd say so. Team Wilson's with you. I wonder who's going to try and get on the Team Murphy.
No one. No one will. Foxy's Biscuits. That's who's going to support Shaun Murphy. Foxy's Biscuits, Domino Pizzas and Krispy Kreme Donuts. That's who's supporting him. I'm going to be sending him to his room. When I get to Milton Keynes end of this month, believe me, he's going to get pizzas delivered. I'm going to be shoving biscuits under his door. There's going to be all sorts going on.
I saw the image that you put on, and it's got you on one side, and you've got Shaun and Shaun on the other, and it's got obviously your ranking titles, and it's 0-0 down the side, and your highest break of 30-odd was on there, and I thought that was a brilliant touch.
I thought I'd have to tell you the tale. It was really funny. We announced it. I think within about an hour, Mark Allen went on Twitter, and he put a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts to the winner. I was like, no, just keep sending them to Shaun throughout instead.
Yeah, just non-stop. Every day, just send them some more. It'll be fine.
Look, it's like I say, it's all good fun. If we can raise a decent amount for charity, both get a bit of weight off. It's not going to either be any harm, is it? So it's got to be a good thing.
Definitely, Phil. What's next on the agenda? Did you say that you've just been signed up to do the German? Yeah.
I've got the German Masters end of this month. Obviously down in Milton Keynes. The week after that is the shootout.
Yeah.
I'm doing the shootout, and then I think it's a week off, and then the last 3 days of the Welsh Open.
Yeah.
And that's then is straight, and that finishes a Sunday, and then on the Monday we start the Players' Championship.
Wow.
So yeah, busy time between now and the end of February. There's a lot of snooker going on, thankfully, because I'm not busy doing anything else during lockdown. So
and it's all getting held at Milton Keynes.
Yeah, all in Milton Keynes. But again, like I say, I've said from the start, I'm fortunate to get to do what I do, and I really am, and I'm grateful for it, because right now I'm not doing anything else. So it's good to be working, it's good to be earning, and being able to provide for my family, which I know a lot of people right now are struggling to do. So, I don't lose sight of the fact that I am lucky to do that in many, many ways. So, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time. Loads of snooker to come up, and I get to watch the Masters in the peace and comfort of my own home before. So, fantastic.
Phil, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Look, it's been an absolute pleasure coming on and having a chat with you. I love watching you snooker. Long may it continue. I'm going to put all the links down for the Snooker's Biggest Loser that's coming up. You and Shaun. Obviously, I'm going to put down the socials as well. You need to go and check Phil out. The videos that he's got on going backstage and the interviews with the players. If you're a snooker fan or even a box fan, if you're a sport fan, you'll absolutely love it.
Thanks,
Phil,
Kevin. No, really, I appreciate that, and it's great to see people like yourself doing podcasts. It's great to see people getting involved and boosting the sport of snooker, because it's what it needs. It's what we've got right now. Just to before you go, if you look at the top 20 players of all time, I think more than 10 of them are currently players. They're currently players on the tour.
Yeah.
Snooker has never been as great as it is right now. There's never been as many tournaments as there are right now. There's never been as many high breaks as there are right now. There's never been the quality of snooker. And right throughout, you look at any event, and anyone in the top 16 or the top 32 could win that event. So we've got sort of the big four at the moment who tend to dominate, but the actual quality and strength and breadth that we've got right now is as best it's ever been. And people like yourself, Kevin, doing your podcast, help to get that word out there. So long may you continue what you're doing as well. Just thanks very much for having me on. I appreciate it. It's great.
Absolutely, no problem. And Phil, I'm also going to leave a link for your apart from the social pages. But if anyone can go and donate, get yourselves on there. It's such a worthy cause, and I'm so looking forward to seeing how things progress with you and Shaun. I'm really looking forward to how the videos progress as well, because that's just going to be better and better.
Yeah, well, let's see what happens with those. But I will win. So Google Snooker's Biggest Loser. You'll find the GoFundMe page. Get on there.
Thank you so much, Phil. Bye now.
Kevin, thanks a lot. Take care. Cheers now.